Hutchings with Treading the Boards, and we're here at Goose Pond Cottage Studios, and I'm so excited. I can barely talk, can you tell? But I can barely talk because I've got Phil Parker here in the studio with me. I know, look around, where is he? No, Phil Parker here, and if you've done theater or anything with performing arts in Northern Alabama, you know Phil Parker, so we are very excited to have him here tonight, and we're just going to ask you a couple of questions, Phil, about your life.
Go to, shoot.
There we go. All right, well, wonderful. First question I have is because you are so good, and you're very humble. What's lovable about Phil is that he is extremely good at what he does, but he's very humble about it, and that's what makes him so lovable.
Checks in the mail.
Checks in the mail, thank you. Anyway, so the first thing I want to know is you've been doing theater for a while. We've done plenty of shows together.
Yes, we have.
And I want to know how you found out that you were an actor. Or have you found that out yet?
The jury is still out, I believe.
No, there's plenty of Wings Awards to support my claim of being a good actor.
Well, it's one of those things. Growing up with my brother, who's 5 years older than me, we spent a lot of time imitating, making fun of, watching a lot of movies. We grew up on Monty Python, for goodness sake. Monty Python.
Yay, Monty Python!
Right here. So yeah, that was probably where it all started, I guess. Just watching them do their thing and wanting to be that way.
And saying you could do that. Okay.
Saying I could do that.
Wonderful. Well, like I said, he has won many awards here in North Alabama. We call them Wings Awards here, and it's just like the Academy Awards, any of the awards, things on TV. We've got Best Actor, Best Show, things like that. How many Wings Awards have you won?
Would it be crass of me to say I don't remember?
I can remember how many I've won. One.
Well, between the wife and I think it's in the neighborhood of 4 or 5, but honestly, I don't really sit around and count them very often.
Well, no, it's an honor, and a Wings Award, even getting nominated, it just goes to show that you're doing a good job in your field, and Phil does a very good job in his field.
You're kind. You're too kind.
Oh, yes. All right. Well, moving on to our next question.
Sure.
Then, we found out how you found out that you were an actor by watching Monty Python and wanting to emulate them. So when you apply your craft, how do you go about deciding what part you're going to do, what show you're going to do? Do you go to auditions, or do you are you selective? Are you at that point now that you can be selective?
A little, yeah. It's one of those things where I don't do as many as I used to do. I used to do sometimes up to 3 shows overlapping at a time, and that started to hurt, so I quit doing that. And nowadays, I can sit back and think I'd rather not do this one if I can help it, but I would rather do this one if somebody wants me to. And I do get asked a lot, which is nice. It's nice to be wanted, but yes. It's one of those things where I'm not so big that I don't have to audition. So I still go. I still try.
Good. All right. Again, there's the humbleness, because I know better. I know he gets asked all the time.
Well, currently I don't have anything theatrical going on in my life, if that's any indication.
Well, okay, so what is your favorite kind of show to do?
I have different favorites for different reasons.
Okay, let's hear them. We've got time, don't we?
All kinds of. Well, I'm big on the Shakespeare, and it's partly because of the, resemblance. And part of it's because people are so intimidated by it, and not to sound bigger than my britches allow, but I don't feel bigger than Shakespeare. I feel like it's actually easier to do Shakespeare than it is some straight plays.
Really?
And that's just because it has that natural prose that Shakespeare himself put into it. It's got that rhythm. It's got that musicality to it when you say the lines, and that to me is a lot easier to learn because of the rhythm.
Gotcha.
And then even monologues, things like that come off a little easier, trippingly off the tongue, as I said. A little easier for me, and I don't know why that is, but it's just I've never had a problem, handling the Shakespeare language, and I think I learned a valuable lesson at Calhoun when I was there as a student about the language itself, and it's to not let it intimidate you. It's just to follow the punctuation, and so many people that do Shakespeare don't get that. They don't realize that the commas are there for a reason, the periods are there for a reason, and if you pay attention to that, and really pay attention to what you're saying, the language can become more conversational or expositional or whatever you need it to be.
Okay, so when we were doing Shakespeare on the Mountain together, and we did, what, 6 Shakespeare on the Mountains
Sure,
together, I think?
sure.
I think something along those. Why didn't we have this conversation? Because I'm absolutely terrible at Shakespeare. I just...
No, I don't think you are, to be
Oh,
honest.
no.
I think you handled it quite well.
Well, thank you.
And that's the thing. It's like if you're around it enough, you start to listen to it. And I've noticed about a lot of people when they sit and watch a Shakespeare play or a Shakespeare movie, it takes about 10 minutes to really kind of get into the language. And
It does.
Once you get that and you can follow along, it makes it so much more entertaining. So I try to get that across in the first 5 minutes. So cut that time in half. If I can get them listening in the first few minutes, then I've got them.
It is music to your ears.
It is. Absolutely.
Hearing the.
But yeah, I do dig the Shakespeare stuff. I also like comedies, of course. Dramas are their thing. Dramas are dramas, but comedy is more difficult than drama is. And I'm sure everybody's heard the expression "dying is easy, comedy is hard."
Yes.
It's very, very true. It's one thing to be able to make somebody laugh. It's another thing to make somebody laugh for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
And I really enjoy doing that. And the scary stuff. I know Wayne Miller was here. He talked about his love of horror and fear and all that. And I have the very same sort of mentality. I grew up on horror movies. My room as a child was covered in bloody, gory pictures of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and Frankenstein.
How'd you sleep at night?
Oh, quite well, actually. Probably better then than I do now. But yeah, I like that kind of thing. The Woman in Black, as you know, is one of my favorites. It's a ghost story, and it's one of those plays where you can't understand how difficult it is to scare somebody in a live setting. Mm-hmm. And that play is absolutely essential so that you do that.
It is.
And it manages to lend itself quite well to eliciting that sort of emotional response from an audience. And it's like that's a very difficult thing to do.
And the other thing with Women in Black is that there's only really 2 actors.
Two actors.
And so you both have to really feed off of one another very well.
I've been lucky enough to do that one 3 times, and there's a possibility, scoop here, there's a possibility it may happen again.
You heard it here first on Tread the Board, you guys.
But at this point, it's still kind of up in the air. The rights were unavailable for a long, long time. For some reason,
because it was a movie, maybe?
Well, the movie had actually already come out, and we were doing the play again, and
well, that's true, yeah.
there was talk of doing it again the year after that at another venue, and the rights got pulled. The amateur rights were pulled, and we thought because it was the 25th anniversary of the show in the West End, there was a touring production going around the country, and the sequel came out at the movie theater. And so we think that's why they got pulled, but they stayed pulled for like a year and a half, and now they're available again.
Cool. Let's hope. Let's just hope. That is so good.
But to answer the original question, yes, I have different favorites for different reasons.
Okay.
And those are just some examples.
All right, well, one thing I noticed you didn't say was musicals. And you have a wonderful singing voice. No. You have a wonderful singing voice. And you play the guitar. So you're very musically inclined.
Well,
so how do you feel about musicals? Do you enjoy doing them, or is it one of those things that you kind of sit back and say, okay, well, I'll do this one, but no more for another 5 years?
Well, I absolutely love musicals. I really do. In fact, part of my love for theater comes from seeing Les Mis, which I know is cliche, it's all get out, but it was one of the first live musicals I ever saw. Mm-hmm. And it had a real impact on me, and it's one of those things that sort of steered me toward doing theater in the first place. Thanks to my brother, Mark Parker. Kudos to you.
Hey, Mark.
But I don't know. I don't feel like I have the voice for it most of the time. Things like Rocky Horror, I can do that.
We all, if you have not seen Phil Parker's Riff Raff and Rocky Horror, you have not seen theater, because he is just absolutely amazing. We got to do Rocky Horror, well, it'll be 2 years in October. Can you believe that? 2 years ago?
Yeah, we're due.
Oh my gosh, we are due to do another one.
I'm growing hair out and I'm waiting for somebody to call, but nobody has called.
Hint, somebody call him to do Riff Raff, you guys, because it's amazing. And we did add something that you haven't done in any of your other Rocky Horrors. We added you playing the electric guitar.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of my silly idea.
No, it was wonderful.
Well, it didn't quite pan out the way I thought it would originally. But yeah, it was just a matter of location on stage and not having a wireless guitar and all that kind of stuff. So where I was positioned playing the song, yeah, I thought a little too far away from the audience. But it was fun. I don't get to play guitar on stage, and I like to think that I don't play guitar; I play at guitar. So I don't have any sort of musical training, any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, the musicals are something I do enjoy. I don't have the dancing chops. I am not a dancer by any stretch of the imagination. I don't have any skill. I have 3 left feet because I don't do math either. And yeah, so yeah, I would like to do more, but I don't get the opportunity very often.
Well, so we know that you basically just like theater, because there's Shakespeare, horror, comedy, musicals.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite all-time part that you've ever done?
How much time do we have? Again, I have favorite parts for different reasons. Yeah, I have like my favorite Shakespeare part was probably Shylock. I played Shylock a couple of times, once at Calhoun and once for Shakespeare on the Mountain.
Yeah.
And that's to me one of the more challenging roles I've had to play. First time I played it was the first time I ever noticed even the cast was alienating me because I was playing Shylock. I was the antagonist. I was sort of the villain of the piece, and I felt a little outcast by other cast members, and that was the first time I'd ever felt that. And so that to me was huge. That was a great reward to be able to feel that way about a part. Also, again, I bring it up again, Woman in Black is a favorite because it's such a difficult show to pull off.
So good though.
Trying to think, Holy Ghosts is one that I did for Renaissance, when Renaissance Theater in Huntsville was brand new. In fact, I think it was the second, maybe the third show that they ever did. I only had 5 lines and one page monologue in that show, but I did more subtext for that role than I've done for anything else I've ever done in my entire life.
Really?
And it was only because there were 16 people in the cast, and once one of them entered, they were pretty much there for the rest of the show. And I was probably one of the last to come on, and I was the only character that actually got to leave stage and come back. But you're sitting out there with nothing to say for most of that time. You have a lot of time to think about what your character should be doing and reacting and all that. So I put a lot of thought into my character's mannerisms and his affectations and all that stuff. And it got us to, well, not my part specifically, but the show got us to the Southeastern Theater Conference in Norfolk, Virginia that year. And we competed against 7 other states and won.
Yay! Yay, Alabama!
And, I felt like, to me, that was the first time I felt like I gotten an audience right where I wanted them. And I could say whatever I wanted to say as long as it followed the script, and I could pause as long as I wanted to, and they would be wrapped up in what I was saying. And that was the first time I ever felt that. So that's a favorite.
Good.
Like I said, I have a lot of different favorites for different reasons, but those are probably the ones that stick out. And of course, Riff Raff. How could I not enjoy Riff Raff?
You've got to say Riff Raff.
So many times, but I think my hairline lends itself to the role quite well. Like I said, a lot of favorites, a lot of parts. I've done in 22 years. I've done probably close to 85 shows. So
okay, so you started 22 years ago.
22 years ago. It's hard to pick an actual. In fact, almost 22 years ago to the minute. It was in June of 1995 when I did my first audition. So.
Wow.
And here we are, June of 2017, 22 years, almost to the minute.
Wow. It's a long time.
Long time.
How do you prepare for a part?
I show up.
Show up.
I don't really have a process. A lot of actors have their superstitions, their process, their stuff that they do to get into a role. And I don't know that I've ever had that. I've always been pretty close to the surface when it comes to that. And it's one thing I actually regret about my theatrical endeavors thus far is the fact that I don't dig a little deeper sometimes. And I'm trying to get better at that and do a little bit more as far as this. They're always talking about affectations and things like that. Trying to give myself a reason to do the things I do, on stage. So I really don't, beyond just learning the lines and doing the repetition and getting that in my head, I don't really have a process. And I'm working on that. I'm getting there.
Gotcha. All right, so theater aside, what other genres of entertainment have you done?
Oh boy. I've done a lot of voiceover work for various companies around town, around the area, around North Alabama, I guess. Done some TV commercial work. Everybody knows me as the
Yeah, my light needs to be
the lamp
fixed.
guy. If I go to my grave tomorrow, I'll be forever known as the lamp guy. And I'll have you know that I did fix my own lamp.
Oh,
At my
very
own
good.
house. I actually took it apart, fixed it, and it did not blow up.
Oh, good.
And of course, I'm referring to the Calhoun commercial that I did a couple years ago. Interesting, behind the scenes story about that is that I was sitting there at the table with the lamp and the tool, the wrong tool for the wrong job, so to speak. And my mom texted me to let me know my uncle had passed away. So it's a sad story, but it was like one of those things that's how I remember
Oh, wow.
where I was when I was doing, when I found out my uncle had died. And crazy story. But
You've done at least one movie that I know
one
of.
movie that's on the shelf up there. It's called 20 Years After. It was originally called Like Moles, Like Rats, which was taken from the film Wild. So, written by Ron Harris and Jim Torres, and I got to play a featured speaking role in the film.
We were so proud of it. We were so proud.
In fact, Kelly was nice enough to lead me on a tour of the set when they were filming 3Ks in Huntsville. And I showed up just for a visit. They didn't know who I was. Nobody knew who I was. None of the Hollywood people knew who I was, of course. And I showed up and was just going to speak to the folks that I knew.
A bunch of us were extras.
Yeah, they were extras, and they were working hard and sweating. It was July, and it was really hot, and they were all wrapped up in winter clothing, most of them.
Yeah.
And she put me on a tour and introduced me to all the Hollywood folks that were on set, and let them know that I was going to be in their movie later on.
And they all ended up loving him afterwards.
Oh, well, I'm still friends with some of them. It's odd. I have Hollywood actual friends.
Yay! Yay, Hollywood. Well, Phil, we do appreciate you coming out here this evening. We do live a bit out of the way, so when we have people come to the studio, it's always appreciated because it is a bit of a drive. But thank you so much, and thank you for being Phil Parker, and just the wonderful you. And oh, I can't riff rap and all kinds of people, but we have enjoyed having you here this evening, and we just hope that you'll come back another time and we'll continue talking, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is Kelly Hutchings with Phil Parker, and I do appreciate you joining us this evening with Treading the Boards, and have a pleasant evening. If you like what you've seen here this evening, please click the like button, and if you want to get more content like this, please hit the subscribe button.